How does the brain store memories like a computer stores files? Does it keep copies of everything we experience tucked away in some dusty attic? Well, not exactly. Our brain is more like a library that catalogs and cross-references information stored in different locations. But don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly where to find all your favorite books, or, in this case, memories. So let's start at the beginning. How does new information get into our memory bank? It all starts with our senses: sight, sound, touch, smell, taste, and so on. All these inputs travel to different parts of the brain for processing. Some of this information might be important or interesting, so it gets sent to the hippocampus, which acts like a memory gatekeeper, deciding what gets stored and what gets lost. This first step is called encoding, but encoding is only the first step in a two-step process. The second step is storage, where the memory is kept until it's needed again. But before we get there, let's talk about how long memories can last. There are two main categories: short-term and long-term. Short-term memory only holds on to information for a few seconds to a few minutes. Long-term memory can hold information for years or even a lifetime. So the key difference between short-term and long-term memory isn't the information itself, but where it's stored and how it's accessed. Short-term memories are stored in the same areas where they were processed. For example, if you see a bird that you don't recognize, your visual system will send the image to the visual cortex in the back of your brain for processing. You might think, what kind of bird is that? At the same time, your brain will activate networks involved in language, and you might say something like, "Hey, Siri, what kind of bird is that?" If you didn't already know, the answer would be stored in your short-term memory, which is like a scratch pad for the mind. It's where you put things while you're thinking about them. But unless you make a conscious effort to remember it, whatever it was, you won't hold on to it for very long. To move from short-term to long-term memory, you have to repeat the information to yourself or link it to something meaningful. Let's go back to the example of meeting a new friend. Your visual cortex initially processes their face, then sends a copy to the hippocampus, which compares that face to all the faces you've seen before. If it's a new face, the hippocampus passes it on to the frontal lobe, which stores information about your friend, like their name, what they look like, and maybe some details about the conversation you had. Now, this is still short-term memory. To make it long-term, you need to bring up those memories again and again. Every time you recognize your friend and greet them by name, you're strengthening the connections in your brain that represent that memory. Eventually, the hippocampus transfers the memory into long-term storage, which is distributed throughout the cortex. Visual memories are stored in the visual cortex, sounds in auditory areas, and so on. Now, how do you actually get that memory back when you need it? When you recall a memory, the brain reactivates the same neural pathways that were active when the memory was first formed. This is how the hippocampus acts as a memory gatekeeper, choosing which memories to bring into conscious awareness. But this process of retrieval is actually a bit dangerous. Every time you recall a memory, you rewrite it a little bit, making it more flexible and adaptable, but also more prone to distortion. It's like the more you use a file, the more likely it is to get corrupted. There's another part of the brain that plays a big role in memory: the amygdala. The amygdala strengthens memories related to strong emotions, both positive and negative. That's why you might remember a first kiss or a car accident in vivid detail long after you've forgotten what you had for lunch today. Finally, let's talk about forgetting. Not all memories last forever. If you don't use a pathway very often, your brain might get rid of it. Unused pathways are pruned away, just like old branches on a tree. But sleep plays a huge role in deciding which memories stick around and which ones get lost. Getting enough rest helps us sort through our experiences and decide what's worth keeping. So the next time you learn something new or have an emotional experience, remember that your brain is creating a unique record of that moment and storing it in a special place just for you.